Hi, everybody. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas, Texas on Thursday, June the 18th. And welcome to our commentary. Welcome to our chat with our good friend Frank Burke, businessman, author. And we always call him a good friend of our show because he is. Hello, Frank. How are
Hi,
you?
Silvio. Well, thanks. How are you doing?
Just great. Just great. It is, we have a heat advisory underway
Uh-huh.
here. So it's 90 plus. It's in the mid 90s. It is just uncomfortably. It's not over 100. We've done that too, but it's just one of those days where it's just uncomfortable. And if you have an automobile, make sure that you have a shade.
Yes, we uh,
Is mm,
we have we're in the 70s. We've gotten into the 80s occasionally.
oh, that's quite a
It's,
contrast.
it's absolutely beautiful. It's just, it's like spring going into the summer. Right now it should be much warmer, but it's been very cool. We had some rain yesterday, which we needed very badly. And it's alternately sunny and cloudy today, but cool and almost brisk. Very nice.
Yeah,
Nice,
yeah.
nice.
I love those Wisconsin summer days because you can take 20 degrees off
Yeah.
compared to what they are in Texas, you know?
I don't know how you do it. I really don't. And we have friends who moved down there, and we're looking for something to do in August to bring them up here so that they can get away from the August heat in Texas.
Well, I think the real question, Frank, is what did we do before air conditioning?
Oh,
I
God.
think that might be the bigger question because I know what we do now. We generally have air conditioning and 92, that's what the temperature is. We have air conditioning. You tend to you don't go jogging at 1 o'clock in the afternoon or 3 o'clock in the afternoon or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And you tend to stay inside. All the shopping centers have air conditioning. The baseball stadium is roofed in, it has a roof
Right.
with air conditioning. I mean, so you live in a way, you kind of live inside air conditioning. And that's how you live in the summer here. But, it's still the biggest problem for me um, when I would go to an office, before, the biggest
Right.
problem for me is that if your car was outside, let's say, and you were leaving at 5:36, and your car was outside all afternoon. I mean, you couldn't even touch your steering wheel. That's how
No,
hot
you
it was.
yes. And they used to
Yeah.
have plastic seats, which
Right.
were just absolutely incredible. I can remember my great aunt, who was, I've mentioned her any number of times. She was born in 1875.
Mm.
And of course, she lived in New York and used to say that in the summer, when it got very hot, the hot nights, in those days, the streetcars used to have sides that came off.
Mm.
And they were then open, and people would just ride the streetcars to get the breeze on a hot summer night. Isn't that a great?
Yes, I believe it. Yeah, because
Yeah,
that's what sometimes that's what our problem in Texas is. There's no breeze.
yeah,
Everything is just stops.
right.
I mean, you have enough air to breathe, and that's about.
Yeah,
You don't have that, and it's interesting. What I am, talking to my parents one time about the heat because Cuba is a tropical island, and
yes.
it gets very humid too. And I ask my parents sometimes, how did people deal with heat before air conditioning? And he said, well, my father said, well, Cuba is a long, narrow island. So you were never more than 50 miles away. I mean, the furthest you would be from the ocean, either north or south, was maybe 50 miles. So there was a natural breeze coming in from the ocean that sort of
Okay.
kept everything cool.
Yeah,
It was still hot, but you had this natural fan
sure.
that was constantly coming in. But we have the World Cup underway now, as you know, Frank, and
Yes.
Uh, the World Cup is being played here in Dallas and in Houston, or at least some games, and they're playing in that stadium with a roof and the air conditioning.
Uh-huh.
And so we've been very fortunate here in Texas because we've been host to the Scotland team, the England team, I believe Portugal team. So we've been flooded with these fans and from all these countries who have never watched soccer in an indoor stadium with air conditioning.
Incredible.
And they're just like talking about how wonderful it is, to watch a soccer game indoors with air conditioning. They're saying, "Oh my gosh, what a great treat that is! How wonderful that is."
Yes.
And they're all been praising the area, and they've been accepting all the cultural things. Like we have a very popular place here in Texas. There's like 2 or 3 on every major highway. They're called Buc-ee's.
Yes, I've heard of them.
You've heard of them. Well, Buc-ee's, if you can imagine, well, first of all, it's a gas station. Let's start there.
Right.
It's a gigantic gas station. But it's also a place where you buy all kinds of little, like you would buy things for your grandchildren, like, mascots and all of that.
Sure, sure.
And it also features all kinds of, Texas dishes.
Okay.
So these people from Scotland, people from England are just going nuts talking about how wonderful Buc-ee's is and what a great experience, Buc-ee's is. Oh, gee, look at this gas station. You can get a sandwich inside. And it kind of leads me to the point, Frank, that the reason I wanted to bring up the World Cup, because I know I'm not a big soccer fan, and I don't think you are either. But what's happened is that all of these people from other countries are coming here and they're saying how wonderful the United States is. It's like they're going against what they're being told back home. It's really remarkable.
Yes. Well, it's true, because if you look at the people, if you look at the American people, they're very friendly,
Yes.
they're very open, and by and large, unless you're in the dangerous part of a large city, you're going to find a lot of people to talk to, and who love talking with people from other countries.
Yeah, I mean, the truth is that most people have a last name that some of these people from England or Scotland or Germany or whatever would relate to.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a team, I think, from one of the Scandinavian countries playing here in Texas, and they visited. There are some towns in Texas that were founded by, different people. I think from what we used to be Czechoslovakia, now the Czech Republic.
Sure.
And these people are enjoying that. They're saying, "Oh, gee, look, they serve collages in Texas," or and so they're having a great time. These people, and instead of hearing how terrible everything is, they're actually talking about how nice it is. They're being interviewed on TV and talking about how wonderful their experience has been, and I'm happy to see that, because I think a lot of times people are sold a total lie about the United States when they see us from the outside. I think the movies don't do the country any service in representing, this wonderful nature of the American people, Frank.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And you bring up something that's very important, and that's our collective heritage. And it's the fact that because so many people from so many different countries came here, our culture embodies all of them.
Right.
I just thinking now, within this past week, I do the cooking in our house, okay? So in the past week, we have had Italian food, Chinese food, and Jewish food.
Wow.
So, and that's kind of every week.
Mm-hmm.
And, we'll have ribs, kind of the Western style ribs. We have one of my favorite things, because I lived there for a while, Cincinnati chili. And if you've never had it, it's
not specifically Cincinnati chili, no.
Not like Tex-Mex at all.
No.
But and we've had Mexican food. Yes, I have to include that. But it's not intentional. It's just the way it is. Well, what would you like tonight? Okay, let's do some of this. And it's a part of us.
Right.
It's not, oh, we're going to do Italian food. No, that's do
Yeah.
it regularly.
Right. Yeah. You're not thinking that it's not unusual. I guess that's what I'm saying. To
Right,
eat these
exactly.
things, you're not even thinking that it's Italian food. It's just your routine. You like spaghetti and meatballs, whether
Exactly.
it's Italian or whatever. Yeah. No, I know what you mean. I think a lot of these people are really catching on to this, when they come here, how much they're enjoying the United States. But I get a kick out of the Brits, a few British fans who were saying that how wonderful it is to watch a game in the summer inside. And it was how cool that is. Well,
I'll add one thing, because I've always found this fascinating.
Sure.
When our oldest son, was young, very young, in grammar school, the AYSO, American Soccer Youth Organization, very big, and he played soccer. He was very good at it. But the kids in America have never really gotten into soccer as they got older.
Mhm.
And I remember an interview when, what's his name, the English soccer player Beckham, came over here, and they were interviewing a British soccer fan, and they asked him, well, do you think that him being here, their big star, if you will, the Babe Ruth of soccer,
Yes,
going to make it more popular? And the other fellow said, no, I really don't. Because to be a soccer fan, to appreciate it, there's so much subtlety in the game. In America, baseball, you hit a home run, you score a touchdown. It's obvious to everybody. But if you're a soccer fan, you have to really keep your eye on it, because the inspired playing is very subtle.
Well, that's right. And you have expressions like in baseball, once, 3 strikes, you're out type of thing. Yeah. Like sometimes they say runner in scoring position, stuff like that people use as part of their of expressions. And I mean, I think that, the problem, like, for example, in Brazil, you're born, living soccer. From the moment you're a baby, everything is soccer. So that's all you're going to play, and that's all you're going to love. That's not the case here, obviously. And so, you're not going to have the same passion for it as they do in other countries. Let me go to another quick point here before we get to Trump Derangement Syndrome, which is something we want to talk a little bit about. This Iran deal that was signed or whatever yesterday, temporary deal or whatever. I'm actually pretty pleased with it, and let me tell you why. Many people wanted Trump to go in and bomb the living daylights out of Iran and basically wipe out Iran, destroy them completely. But I always had concerns about that, because once you blow up Iran or blow up one of these cities, you still have 90 million people, and who's going to run the country? And that's my concern. Are we going to be sending troops in to occupy the country and run the country? I mean, the public doesn't want that. I don't want that. So, I mean, it's like, I think Trump may be onto something here. This is my theory. He is letting this time go by, hoping that there is a regime change from within. That's what I think he's trying to do here. He may be wrong, but that's what I think this is all about, Frank.
Well, to an extent, I agree with you, Silvio, but I will say this. Trump made a lot of statements that turned out not to be true. We'll accept nothing but unconditional surrender.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, the deal is going to be signed in 2 days. And we heard that again and again and again. But I think the problem is this. The CIA was probably not on its toes in terms of setting up some leadership among the people of Iran, 40,000 of whom were killed by the same regime that we are now trying to make a deal with. And I don't trust the deal. And I don't think anybody else in this country, except maybe Donald Trump, trusts.
I'm not sure he trusted either, but
And
I'm
I think if it had resulted in regime change, all for it. But as for dealing with the regime that's there and presenting things like taking off the sanctions that they could use to strengthen themselves, I'm very concerned about it.
yeah. Well, maybe it was a mistake to have done it. I mean, the argument for going in like he did was that they were close to having a weapon. That argument makes
yes.
Yeah, that argument makes sense to me. But now they didn't accomplish the regime change that they thought they were going to get. So now you sort of had to stand back for a second and say, well, let's try something else. The biggest problem that Trump has, I think, whether it's self-inflicted or reality, and that is that he's got elections coming up, and you don't want to be paying $4 a gallon on election day because he will lose. He will lose bad. So maybe the idea here is let's buy some time, bring down the price of gas. Most Americans will probably get over the situation if they're paying $3 or less for gasoline. They'll stop thinking about this war. And then maybe after the elections, we can go in and do the big kill. I don't know. Maybe that's what it is.
It may be, but I also feel very bad about the way he has treated Netanyahu. He's been very disrespectful of the man. You know, I'm the one that's in charge and all of that. I mean, Israel has to defend itself.
Oh, sure.
And to say, well, pull your troops back, you know, go along with this deal that you weren't a part of so that I can make the deal. Well, you know, if my people are going to get slaughtered because they're still sending in rockets, you can bet I'm going to send my army and my rockets in there.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, they live in the neighborhood.
Yes.
They're the ones who get the rockets first. You know, we know it's difficult unless you've ever spoken to somebody from Israel, and I'm sure you have, and they tell you what it's like every night. You don't know if rockets are coming. You know, it's really, you don't understand the Israeli situation unless you understand the danger that they live under on a day-to-day basis. It's actually a very small piece of real estate too.
Yeah.
Israel, and you know, they're under threat constantly, to say the least. Well, anyway, let's move on to Trump Derangement Syndrome, which is why we wanted to do this. Trump Derangement Syndrome has now become a real problem, I think. It has the Democrat Party basically, it cannot function. Democrat Party cannot function.
Right.
Because everything is about Trump Derangement Syndrome. They can't seem to, like, for example, this Iran deal. There's not a Democrat who can say, well, you know, there's something here we can work with. Because if you say that, you're going to get a primary.
Right.
And I'm just wondering, you know, how much longer we can be in this situation where one party's in one corner and the other party is in the other corner, and they can't even talk to each other, Frank.
Yes. Well, you know, let's go back to the basics. Let's go back to what it's really about. Trump Derangement Syndrome, in my opinion, is about anger. And the root of anger is frustration. Now, the Democrat Party, for the last, you name it, 20 years, as it has moved more to the left, it has embraced positions that are totally unrealistic. It cannot be done. Men cannot become women.
Right.
Socialism doesn't work. But so the more they have embraced these positions, naturally, the more frustrated they're going to be. And they can't blame themselves. So they need a visible figure whom they can blame, and that becomes Donald Trump. But if you translate that down into the lives of everyday people, you're looking at the fact that in many ways, this is like every age, I guess, but it's an especially difficult age because we've lost so much. and I don't mean we, I mean the world in general. It- People used to have many, many more opportunities to get that first foot on the ladder. And there were things like middle management jobs. There were jobs in retail. There were individual chain stores, shoe stores,
Hmm.
where dry cleaners, where men could make, and women generally didn't work in those days, but so they took care of the family, and men could make a respectable living, have pride in themselves, buy a house, look forward to retirement, and so much of that is gone now. And every time
Yeah.
I hear them talk about, we need to teach STEM stuff in school, engineering, mathematics. Well, not everybody is talented in math. I'm not. I never
Mhm.
was.
I'm not
And
either.
yeah, and you look at it and say, okay, what are we going to do with the people? What are we going to do? What is this world going to be if we can't find places for more and more people and opportunities for people to start climbing that ladder of success? So
Yeah.
there's a lot of frustration.
I think there is. I think there's a lot of frustration. I think a lot of people, like you say, they come out of college and they have all this debt,
Yes,
and they cannot buy a house. Um, I also think that maybe this is responsible for the number of people who are still single. Maybe, I don't know, maybe economic reasons. A lot of people are not getting married. They're not
yes,
having kids. So you have a lot of people living by themselves. Whatever that means, that's different than what I remember when I was in high school, Frank. Every kid that I knew was in a two-parent household,
yes,
and and many of those fathers were factory workers in Milwaukee,
yeah,
or they worked in a factory and they had a house and they had cars, and the wife was at home, the mom was at home, and they had I guess, a middle class lifestyle.
yeah,
Um, and I don't see that. I mean, when you go to Milwaukee now, I was there recently when I saw you that time, and what I see is a lot of Milwaukee is just deteriorated.
yes,
And there are suburban neighborhoods, yes, but a lot of the city itself, the life of the city that used to be all those body shops and all those factories, it's
yeah,
gone.
yes,
And those kids are graduating from high school. If you don't go into the army or you don't go into college, what are you going to do? What job are you going to have? You're going to be working at one of these stores, where you're making minimum wage and basically running the register.
yeah. And well, for instance, you look at, I read an article this morning about the number of young people who are living with their parents.
Hmm.
The average age of a first-time home buyer is 40.
Wow.
Can you believe that? Uh,
That's higher than it used to be. Yeah, much
yeah,
higher. Yeah.
and they can't afford a house. And a lot of people. One of our sons has given. I don't know that he's ever really wanted a house because he saw how much work it is for us.
Yeah. Well, sure.
But he's going plans to rent for his entire life, and he's in his late 40s. And I don't know. To me, that's not the way you do it. But that's up to him. It's his
Right.
life.
No,
Uh,
but I think the frustration point that you bring up is a good one. That I do think a lot of people get frustrated, so they take it out on whoever's in the White House,
and
uh,
and
and I, and I think that's part of the problem here.
it is. And by transference, they take it out on anybody whom they perceive as an extension of Donald Trump. One of my closest friends doesn't call me anymore. I know a fellow that has
Yeah.
written some very colorful opinion letters.
Right, I know. I mean, and that's no, and I love this guy dearly, but he's
He's off
He
the rail.
become he's tough to read sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, and
I,
I've seen it happen within families.
oh gosh.
Uh,
And that is really that's when it becomes a derangement syndrome.
oh,
I
it
think
really is.
that's when it ceases to be, I guess, a political issue, when you've got friends that you don't even want to hear from anymore,
Yeah.
because you know that all you're going to do is argue about Trump.
Yes.
So you're
Well,
almost like saying, hey, don't write to me anymore, please. I cannot tell you because I don't want to. I guess I'm afraid to tell you because I don't want to blow the friendship. But on the other hand, I'm saying to myself, if I don't hear from you for the next 6 months, I'm not going to complain.
yeah, I know what you mean. Some of the other things that factor into this, I think, have to do with different things that characterize people on the left. First of all, they lose their sense of humor.
Oh
And
gosh,
the
yes,
people I know on the right generally have a good sense of humor. We can
yeah,
laugh at ourselves.
sure,
But on the left, everything is very serious. I remember with this friend of mine. Okay, um, he used to tell me years ago. He told me this that J. Edgar Hoover, who was the head of the FBI, he
sure.
said, when I was a kid, I used to think his name was J. Ed Hoover because that's the way I was hearing it.
Right.
And I said, it wouldn't surprise me when Obama, and I said this when Obama was president, if some young people thought that his name was Barack Obama.
Right.
Oh, well, no, they wouldn't think that. He got very offended by the
Yeah.
fact that I brought that up. And it wasn't meant as an insult. It wasn't an insult. But
No,
they're very
but I,
self-censoring.
yeah, and the humor on our side, we kind of laugh at ourselves a lot. Um, the humor on their side, it's often mean too. I
Yes,
mean, they can't just make a joke; they have to be mean to Trump.
very, very,
I
very true.
mean, they have to, like I actually, I mean, they make fun of Trump's age, for example. And look, he's 80 years old. I don't know how he does it, honestly. I don't know how he keeps the lifestyle that he keeps. I mean, I don't know how he does it. I don't know how Trump keeps going the way he does. I have no idea how he does it. I don't
Right.
know of any other 80-year-old that can do that, or that I'm familiar with who's done that. So, so the other day he fell asleep a little bit, I guess,
Mhm.
in a meeting, or I don't know, he was somewhere and he fell asleep. So I'm getting, people are talking about, look, we told you he's really sick. He's falling asleep.
Yeah.
And I'm going, yeah, he's been up for like 20 hours negotiating this or that. Cut him a little slack, my
Yes.
gosh. He's
Yes.
80 years old. Um, you know, just ease up a little bit on the guy,
Yeah.
If you don't like him, that's great. Vote against him. But don't, I mean, these very personal things that I really see, I never did that to Obama, for
Yeah.
example. And with President Biden, I will say, you never heard me make fun of him. Now I felt sorry for him,
Right.
but because I felt that he, that I think you and I talked about this one time when I said, if my father was looking like that, I'd probably have a conversation with him and say, Dad, you don't want to run again, or maybe
Right.
you want to resign or something. But I never made fun of Biden. I never,
Yeah.
I was concerned that the man with a button on the nuclear weapons may not be fully alert if he ever got the phone call at the wrong time.
Yeah. Well, and there's this need on people on the left, and it comes with the meanness, this terrible need to communicate all the time. They can't do, like if I'm talking to somebody and I know that they're a Democrat or whatever, I don't bring up politics. But they have to get it into the thing. I once heard someone say the way to raise a lot of money from the left is to put a tax on bumper stickers. because the cars with all the bumper stickers invariably are conveying a leftist message.
Right.
And
Well,
they go
no,
ahead.
go ahead. Go ahead. No, no, I was going to say that you're exactly right. I mean, these people have to put it in your face.
Yes,
I remember this fellow over at Facebook who um, he obviously he and I had a different view of the world, and that's okay. You know, I
yeah,
don't have a monopoly on things. If you and I have a different view of the world, that's fine. And but don't keep pushing your views. I mean, it seemed like every single day he had to post something about how Donald Trump's a liar,
yes,
Donald Trump is this, Donald Trump is that,
yep,
and then this stuff ends up in your information because the way Facebook works is that if you have a friend, whatever they print, you get. So you get that kind of people, and it's like, you know, I I don't do that. I mean, if
no,
I have people who I know are not friends of or fans of Donald Trump, but I don't, you know, I can talk to them about something else. I can talk to
right,
them about baseball. I can talk. You can even talk about politics, but in a different way.
sure,
You don't have to make it all about Trump. You can talk about, you know, maybe some issues. Try to
yeah,
find some common ground on some issues. But this obsession with Trump that they have is this. I think it's destructive, self-destructive. I mean, I think it's these people. I don't know how they sleep. I don't know how they. I don't know how they sleep. I don't know how they wake up in the. I mean, I don't know how they have relationships with other people. I mean,
yeah,
if you're so obsessed with Trump
right.
and you're living like that every single minute of your life, well, how in the world do you have a normal life?
Well, you don't. It's hatred is very corrosive,
It sure
and it
is.
corrodes the personality, and it causes people to make fools of themselves. There's a young woman who is the daughter of a late friend of mine, was a very close friend, and he was conservative in his politics, and she got into academia, and she's way out on the left. So she sends out these emails every few days, and the subject is always Donald Trump.
Right.
She sent out this side by side pictures, okay, of the reflecting pool as
Oh,
it was before Trump and after Trump. And she said, look at how this man destroyed this beautiful thing. The one on the left, okay, was a picture of the pool beforehand with the reflection of the Washington Monument. The pool on the right had no reflection because there was
oh,
no water in it yet.
oh, I see. Yeah, very good.
That you're going to get a reflection when you put the water in. I don't care how much you hate Trump, you have to give him credit. He is one of the great builders of our
Sure.
generation. And
And he's been a very consequential president. I mean,
yeah,
people tend to, I mean, what he's pulled off in the Middle East with the Abraham Accords, I still think he'll pull something off here with Iran that is good. I mean, these are things that, you know, the situation in Venezuela, hopefully in Cuba, these are things that have bothered the country for a long time that he's been willing to tackle directly.
yeah,
But let me tell you one thing, Frank, about Trump derangement syndrome. You may remember Bush derangement syndrome.
yes,
Um, in fact, that's how all of this got started when Charles Krauthammer, who is a psychiatrist himself, he wrote an article one time saying that the left was suffering from Bush derangement syndrome, that every time, you know, they saw Bush on TV, they would go nuts.
yeah, yeah,
And yeah, I mean, it was, and if you look at some of the language that they use about Trump, a lot of it I've heard before about Bush, you know, the dictator, Hitler, and
yes,
all this kind
right,
of stuff. And these people have reached the point where that's all they have. They have nothing else.
yeah,
And I will tell you, Frank, I think a lot of it has to do with loneliness. Because, for example, I have some small grandchildren that occupy my time. So I don't really have time to dwell on on Chuck Schumer all day long because I've got little ones that will take me away from that. You know what I mean? It's
I
like,
know exactly what you mean.
so you have distractions in your life.
Of
You
course.
know, you have people, whether it's your sons or your friends or your family. I mean, like we're active at our church, or we have friends that way, and it's like
Yeah.
I have other things to do than sit around and hate a politician.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that in many ways, there are things in all of our lives that can be causes of frustration. As
Mhm.
we get older, we lose certain capabilities or they are reduced, let's say. I would probably not be able to indulge in the exercise program I did when I was in my 30s, 20s,
Right.
and 30s.
Sure. Sure.
And there are things to be accepted. And acceptance is a very hard thing for some people. They feel that they should be what they were, or that they should be this, or they should be that, or they should have achieved this, but they didn't. And as a result, they don't want to blame themselves. They have to find someone highly visible to blame.
Right.
So it's like the Salem witch trials. I had a lousy crop that was
Right.
obviously bewitched by this woman.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's
You know, I once told one of these anti-Trump people that it was like the next time his neighbor had a problem with her diet, that she was going to blame Trump for the fact that her diet was not working well or
yes,
whatever. And the question I have, Frank, to sort of wrap it up, the question I have is, how do you put all of this back? Because Trump is not going to be around forever. I mean,
no,
he will be, what, in 2.5 years, he'll be gone. Really, it's even faster than that, because as soon as the next campaign rolls around, he'll take a back seat.
yes,
Now, I don't know how much of a back seat Trump can ever take, but he's not going to be the primary figure anymore. So eventually, we're going to wake up one morning and J.D. Vance is going to be president. I don't mean because something happens to Trump. No, because we have an election. And J.D. Vance is president, or maybe Marco Rubio, or God forbid, Newsom, or whatever. Somebody else is going to be in that chair. So what are they going to do with all this anger? I mean, what are they, what are they going to call their family on the phone and say, look, I'm sorry that for the last 5 or 6 years, I was such a miserable family member that, what are they going to do? I mean, how do you end it, Frank? I mean,
well,
how do you, if you can end it at all?
I think for many of them, they won't end it. And just as Bush derangement syndrome was transferred to Trump and exemplified or really, strengthened, um, you're going to have the same thing happen with somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And it will be, I can't accept the blame for ruining my life, from my life being bad. Therefore, I'm going to blame someone else.
Right.
And it really is terrible because it's causing people to do some very, very bad things that have consequences they can't even realize.
Right.
When you look at the way that the socialists, the so-called democratic socialists, are taking over the Democrat Party, what we
Oh,
knew
yes.
as
Gosh.
the Democrat Party, you are looking at the seeds of ruin being planted in many areas. Look at the states like New York, California, that are losing population. Washington, the state of Washington, they're losing businesses, they're losing people with money. And this will continue. It sets into a death spiral. Quick story about New York. Number of years ago, when Bloomberg was mayor, he was contemplating a so-called wealth tax.
Yes.
And being a businessman, he did market research. And he found that something like 40,000 people were contributing 51% of the taxes. Now, that's not many people, but that if he did enact this tax and lost a number of them, he would start a spiral where they would have to raise taxes across the board, which would then cause more people to leave, which would then cause them to have to do this again and again and again. And he said, no, I'm not going to do that. It'd be a bad decision.
Yeah.
So, that's
No, I understand what you're saying, and I just hope these people can come out of this and somehow step away from it, because it's like a drug. It's like somebody who is addicted to a drug and cocaine and eventually has to end up in some kind of a treatment center. I think that's what we're talking about here. It's no longer political differences. I'll just give you a quick story. I remember one time hearing on the radio that some liberal was saying that you need to go to your Thanksgiving dinner and shame your neighbor, shame your family member for having voted for Trump.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there going, what? You're going to go to a Thanksgiving dinner and you're going to sit there during the dinner and say to your family member, you're really a bad person because you voted for Trump. And it's just insane.
Yes, it is.
But what can I tell you? That is what they think.
In that case, Silvio, there would be more than one turkey at the table for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that's not going to be that kind of. For a minute there, I was thinking about that Christmas Vacation movie, and that wild Christmas party that they had, or that wild dinner that they had. Yeah, that's Frank. One quick thing I wanted to say before we say goodbye. First of all, as always, thank you for your time. I wanted to say before as we say goodbye here, happy number 84 today to Paul McCartney.
Yes.
84 years old, Paul McCartney. There's two surviving Beatles now, of course, Ringo and Paul.
Yes.
And so he's 84 years old. Paul McCartney today. I guess he's still the most successful pop writer or composer, English language. And, I guess he's had more hits than anybody else in the charts, but you talk about time flying. This is when you look at the calendar, you go, oh my gosh, Paul McCartney's 84. Where did the time go?
It's funny. It's a funny thing you mentioned that. Last night, my wife Peg and myself watched The Towering Inferno. That movie is, I think, 52 years old now. And the number of stars in that.
Which one? Which movie?
The Towering Inferno.
But which movie? Which movie?
That's the name of the movie.
Yes. Yeah. That's when they were making all those movies about all those great tragedies, like the ship going down. That one. I forgot the name of that one.
The Poseidon Adventure.
The Poseidon Adventure. All of a sudden, you were going to the movies to watch all these great disasters.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, but 52 years old, so that would have been 1974. Wow.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Paul Hellman, Steve McQueen, all of these great, Robert Vaughn, Robert Wagner, all these great talents that are either left us or are quite elderly today. And you see that.
What amazing.
Yeah. It makes us think about ourselves.
Well, you just realize all of a sudden, how fast the calendar goes, I guess, which shouldn't be a surprise, but it always is to me, especially when I see a birthday like Paul McCartney being 84. Well, Frank, thank you so much. As always, it's always a pleasure to have you and kick some things around with you. And today is always, it's such a treat to have you. Thank you so much.
Well, likewise, Silvio, and to you and our audience, God bless, and to all the fathers out there, happy Father's Day this weekend.
That's exactly right. Happy Father's Day on Sunday. That's correct. Happy Father's Day on Sunday. Thank you, Frank. Happy Father's Day to you.
Thank you, and God bless.
All right, thank you so much. Our good friend Frank Burke up in Wisconsin. Always enjoy chatting with him. Having, once in a while we want to do something different in our conversations and get away from the political talk or whatever, and try to sit back for a second and talk about other things. And today, of course, with Frank talking about Trump Derangement Syndrome, which is really a real problem. And I'm not making fun of anybody. I'm just simply saying it's a real problem when people get to that point where Trump is this much of their lives. You just have to wonder, how do they get out of this? Well, they can't. They get to a point where they're so obsessed with Trump that I don't know what they're going to do when the guy goes away, and he will eventually. In a couple of years, he'll be gone, and I don't know how they're going to cope and deal with the fact that he's no longer around. I don't know, but we'll see. We'll see how they cope with that, but it won't be easy. It won't be easy. Have a great day, everybody. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas.